There. Hello, friends on Facebook and YouTube. Nice to have you with us this morning. Hello, friends on Zoom. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, good. It is Monday, the 16th of May, 2022. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. The sun is behind the trees, but looks like it's shining into the other end of the backyard. A poem for the morning. The poem I had selected doesn't seem right, so I'm looking a little further. Well, here's a poem that I have carried on my person for at least 35 years. First, it was a little booklet that Ram Dass and a couple of friends created, and now it's digital. If you go to robertbeatty.com and scroll to the very bottom, you will see a beautiful audio-visual presentation of this poem. I will read just the first two stanzas. First, I will record. Yay, I remembered. Record.
Recording in progress.
Okay. The great way is not difficult for those who are not identified with their preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of things is not understood, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. Live neither in the entanglements of outer things nor in inner feelings of emptiness. Be serene in the oneness of things, and such erroneous views will disappear by themselves. When you try to stop activity to achieve passivity, your very effort fills you with activity. As long as you remain in one extreme or the other, you will never know oneness. Those who do not live in a single way fail in both activity and passivity. Assertion and denial. To deny the reality of things is to miss their reality. To assert the emptiness of things is to miss their reality. The more you talk and think about it, the further away you wander from the truth. Stop talking and thinking, and there's nothing you will not be able to know. To return to the root is to find the meaning, but to pursue appearances is to miss the source. At the moment of inner enlightenment, there is a going beyond appearance and emptiness. The changes that appear to occur in the empty world we call real only because of our ignorance. Do not search for the truth. Only cease to cherish opinions. So we come together in this wonderful, predictable way. All the conditions are such that we can gather together over great distances and then and now be in the same space. So please let us take a comfortable upright posture. Placing mindfulness before us. What does that mean? I think it means being aware. Being aware of this livingness that sits here. There's absolutely nothing funny, nothing abstract about it. It's just this awareness and this aliveness. And in fact, we can be aware in a certain relaxed way of the entire body. Its feet and legs and hands and back, face. It's sitting here. Of course, the mind is a complex, thought-generating, mood-generating phenomenon. Let's not make an enemy of the wandering mind. In fact, let's befriend it. We don't need to struggle to get rid of thoughts. They're always arising and then passing away all by themselves. There's nothing permanent about them at all. And so we can be intimate with this breath, with this body that sits here. To really notice the beginning whenever we can of a breath. To observe the rising to fullness, the change of direction, the falling. There is a certain subtle effort which has nothing to do with tensing muscles. It's more of an intention. I intend, or this is the intention, to love and accept myself exactly as I am in each moment. I intend to awaken from the wandering minds, all the various types of trance states. And in this instance, using the breathing in and breathing out at the chest and abdomen, or perhaps at the nostrils, as my home base, as my point of orientation. In coming home to the present moment, we relinquish time. The thought of time may well arise. How much longer will we sit here? Impatience might even arise. If it does, then what an opportunity to observe impatience. And mindfulness is the mysterious human capacity to be aware of what is experienced moment by moment, without judgment, without criticism, without evaluation even. It's just what's here now. we allow the body to sit like a rock, or perhaps to root like a giant sequoia tree. There is nowhere to get to except here. And here only exists now. So we don't need to plan on some future activity, some further moment in the future when we are more worthy, when we have done whatever penance we need to do. Instead, we come to a peaceful landing right here, no matter what the mind is doing. Sometimes the mind may get very quiet. Its restless searching, thinking may just attenuate to next to nothing. In which case we can simply abide in that ease. To feel the aliveness of the body. To notice the quality of mind when it's not busy at all. Other times there may be restlessness and agitation, worry, remorse, figuring things out, replaying old conversations or practicing for one to come. This is not a problem. It's just what the mind does. It's not even personal, ultimately. And what to do with it? Well, to be aware of it. And anything which awareness observes is clearly not who we are. It is anicca, impermanent. The same is true with any desires, the mind wanting to be somewhere else or having a different experience, or its opposite, aversion, disliking, the mind pushing against the object. I don't like this. We simply are resting here, watching life unfold. And unfold it does. it's possible that sloth and torpor reveal themselves. A kind of heaviness, dullness of consciousness, sleepy feeling. This also isn't a problem. It's not something we have to fight. It actually provides a potent opportunity for insight. We make the clear intention to stay present with the breath, to stay awake and alert. And then, poof, we're gone. And then something utterly mysterious happens, which is then there's awakening. How does that happen? It's not like it's an effort of will to wake up. It simply happens. And it can happen many times in half an hour of practice, if that's what's up. Same thing when the mind wanders. It wanders, and then somehow the trance ends, and then there's awareness. with awareness. We recognize something we share with sentient beings. Elephants breathe, whales breathe, fish breathe in their own way. Dogs and cats breathe. We share in a profound mystery. Trees and plankton don't breathe, but they photosynthesize. Their waste gas, oxygen, powers the energy cycle in the human body. Our carbon dioxide, which we are offering them in too large amounts, but from our bodies we offer them oxygen. And we are part of one living organism, one whole. Hence, in a way, each breath is sacred. This breath right now is communion. We may not be in the same room with each other, but we are breathing the same atmosphere. We practice for our own reduction of suffering, our elimination of suffering. We practice for our own awakening. And this awakening can't help but affect our loved ones, our friends, our enemies. In fact, we practice for the benefit of all beings. It's not just a metaphor. It's not a lofty goal. It's the most practical thing on earth. We each take responsibility for the greed, hatred, and ignorance that are part of our legacy, part of that which comes to us through birth. And moment by moment, kindness by kindness, we become more loving. Thank you for practicing together this morning, friends. I spent a little too long this morning in the news, and it was very comforting to come here and let it all go. After all, I can't spend my whole life doing nothing. So, Jim, you're doing a Qigong day pretty soon, are you not?
Yes, tonight I'm on Zoom with Jim's guest house, and then on Saturday from 9 to 1, I'll be at the center with a live audience, participants, and then try to do the same, Zoom connection outside that we did last time. We focus in the middle of the hall, and then you can join at home, working with the group that's in the big hall on Duke Street. So that's coming up next Saturday, and you can find. I'll put the link in the chat.
Great, thank you. I will be here with us until a week from Thursday, next Thursday. And on that day, I'm flying to Canada to teach a retreat, my 27th year, actually, at Hollyhock. There's still 3 spaces in the Hollyhock retreat, so if you can just chop it out of your schedule, come on and join the party. So I think that's enough of that. Do you have anything you'd like to share? The 10,000 joys or the 10,000 sorrows? The ways practice is opening up for you.
Something to share.
Where are you?
I'm page over. Oh no, I'm Zoom user. Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Good. Hello, Zoom user.
I'm Paige, the Zoom user.
Okay. Hi, Paige.
So, um, yesterday when you were talking about the stages of life and the impermanence and all the seasons that we go through, I went to the symphony and there was um, Carlos Calamar was the conductor from before, and he came back for a special program of Mahler's Ninth Symphony, and he explained before the symphony that it embodied all of the stages of life and the impermanence and the changing in during the whole thing.
Huh.
And at the very end, instead of like normally the symphony will crash and everyone's loud and da da da, and this had just faded into just absolutely silence, like you were talking about yesterday. And
Huh.
I thought, how perfect. Anyway, that was one of the thousand joys. Yeah, cool.
Mahler's Ninth. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so perfect.
Judy,
Hi, Judy.
I have a question. This morning, with your reading of The Great Way, it brought up for me a conflict that my husband and I recently had, a minor conflict about the placement of a piece of artwork in our home. And underlying this minor conflict was an issue that's ongoing for us. And normally, he's more attached, in my opinion, to his side of the conflict. And so I most often just let it go. In this case, I felt really strongly about my opinion, and I argued it with him, and he let me have my way. And I felt like I was able to be fairly skillful about the way that I argued it, and by explaining to him exactly what this meant to me, and that I'd really appreciate it if he would, let it go. But I was thinking this morning, what if I didn't have attachment to the outcome, to my opinion, what would be even the point of arguing for it? And wouldn't I just always be giving in, always be letting, things go? That's it.
I hear in that a question that's at the heart of every relationship, isn't it? The things that we argue about are rarely the real issue. The real issue is so often are my feelings and needs and my perspectives on things going to be honored in this relationship or not? And gender issues come into it too, that for so many hundreds of thousands of years, might has made right. And women have been taught to defer and be obsequious and to give up their desires, their wishes, and actually to be owned, realistically. And so I suppose if one were completely awakened and wasn't attached to being a self at all, then none of the preferences would even really matter. But then, what about the preference of if you were to see someone harming a child? To have no preferences might be, oh well, there's no one there anyway, it's just an energy field, blah, blah, blah. So that's, I think, a misuse of the teachings. And that my experience is the more deeply I go in meditation and the more opportunities I have to encounter conflict, I think I get to do conflict better. And you were speaking of that, I think, in what you were saying. And that studying nonviolent communication has been very helpful, Marshall Rosenberg's teachings, that sometimes our preferences are inexplicable, or often, I guess. And then to enter into the conflict in the relationship is to share, these are my preferences, these are the feelings I have, with a sort of a question is, will you treat me and my preferences respectfully? And sometimes we seem to have to stand up pretty firmly for our preferences. And sometimes it's essential to do so, I think. But can we do it? How do we do it, I guess, is the question. So the great way is a statement of a polarity. It's funny. It's a statement about not having polarities, but it's a polarity itself, which is don't have preferences. On the other hand, there's the whole, there's a saying in the transpersonal psychotherapy world, you have to become somebody before you can become nobody. And I know that was certainly the case for me. I was so conflict phobic, and I don't say that as an exaggeration. I was so conflict phobic that it was really easy to walk all over me, that I always yielded, and it resulted in me being seething underneath, but I didn't even know. So I don't know if those reflections are any help, but I think it does. I think it does behoove us. Can I say this? Yeah, I will. One of the big awakening moments of my life was a divorce that I was involved in. And my opponent in the divorce decided that she was going to have sole custody of the children, and I had been the primary parent. I stayed home with the kids, and we had a war. We had a custody battle, which in the end I won. And then I said, how about we share the kids? 50-50. But I had to learn, I had to draw a line in the sand and say, nope, for the sake of these children, I am not acceding to this. I will take this to the mat. It was very difficult for me. I felt so bad about myself, but I had support, really good support from friends and from a really fine therapist. And the attorney that I hired, I asked him to read every piece of correspondence I had with this person. And I had another person read it. And one of their tasks was to remove any hatred or anger from what I wrote. My opponent in the struggle still experienced almost everything I wrote as full of hate and anger. But it was a really important time to stand up and say, nope, this is not the way reality is going to go. A very difficult time. But I grew up a lot. I became a lot more realistic that there are places where you sometimes have to say, no, you don't get to walk on me this time. I hope that's helpful.
You touched on the other side of this, which is after I stand up and argue for my opinion and win, then I feel really bad.
Right. Who are you? Who are you to get what you want?
Yeah. I think I was able to let that sense of shame, I guess it is, go a little bit quicker than I usually do in this.
Yay.
So I guess it's all just baby steps.
I think it always is. One breath at a time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, it's B.
Hello, B. Oh, hang on.
Hi.
You're on page 2
Yes,
for me. I want to get to you. There you are. Hi.
Hi.
Like your overalls, by the way. Very cool.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciated Judy's question, and I really appreciated that it had a concrete example with it. That was really helpful for me. And I appreciated your answer. And this is just something I've been thinking about and asking questions about a little bit. But I am a bit confused about letting go of preference. I thought the question and the answer were great, but I'm still confused about letting go of preference. Is it that we let go of preference unless we feel really strongly, or that we let go of preference unless we can determine that preference is attached to some underlying need that we have. You can see where I'm just
Yeah.
I'm confused about what our is our goal to get to the point where we just genuinely, honestly, just really don't have a preference, and it's okay. We're not feeling these underlying concerns. Can you help me a little bit with this?
I don't know. I do know this. The more I don't care about preferences, the happier I am. It's funny, the things that come to mind. A few years ago, I spent some time with some people who are very wealthy, and they dine out a lot, and they send back food a lot, and it seemed it was such a blessing to me to think, oh, they didn't get this exactly right from the kitchen. Who cares? It's food. So to not have preferences, to be able to accept things as they are is to have children and be able to accept things as they are is such a relief. Oh my gosh, I saw a news, Jennifer texted me a news item this morning. There's a couple in India that is suing the son and daughter-in-law for some outrageous sum of money because they've been married 6 years and they haven't produced a grandchild. And they have 1 year to produce a grandchild or they have to pay a huge amount of money. I mean, that's an amazing preference, isn't it? And I think of always in this kind of conversation, I think of the Serendi Prayer, that from that old Irish prayer that the AA world really has used to good extent. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so all day long there are preferences that come up, and some of them are just not worth struggling over. Though, an art piece that you like and that you have, you're in a shared space where you live, and there's something about having one's preferences respected, and so I think it's an ongoing art, realistically, and not. I don't know, I have in my life said I don't really mind in circumstances where I really minded. And then I got really resentful and depressed. So that's sort of a guide too. If you find yourself resentful and it's like, I don't care where you put the art or whatever. And then there's an impediment in the relationship. There's a distance. It's not we are doing this, it is you are doing this and I am subservient. And that doesn't lead to very much happiness, I don't think. So I don't know if that's any help. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what's coming to me right now is that I'm seeing preferences as a really good object of meditation or concentration. That if you're feeling strong preferences about something, then that could be something to take note of.
Yes.
So that seems helpful to me.
Yep.
Very helpful. Thanks.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Hi. Very interesting discussion. I use preferences I just observe, and I notice that in my privileged milieu, people have so many preferences. Like someone I know was enraged because the omelet stuck to the frying pan. Like, really? Anyway, so I'm just seeing my preferences. But in my life right now, I've been in the process of moving for 3 months, and I'd really prefer not to be doing it. But there it is. And so yesterday there was an interview with Lorna Crozier about her husband, who was the poet Patrick Lane, and they were talking about AA because he was an alcoholic and he went to AA, and he was talking about how some people resist the higher power, the idea of a spiritual guidance, and he said something so beautiful, which was that his God was a tree. And I really thought about trees and thought about how they just abide so wonderfly. They follow their own path. They create benefits all the time. They bear silent witness, just as themselves, how they create things out of sunlight, and they work with amoeba and their roots. And I think contemplating a tree really helped me to just abide in my kind of ferment of moving and stress, and observation of preferences and conniption fits and so on. But I just wanted to say one more thing, is that this morning on my phone I got an ad that said, Jesus wants me to have a Bible on my phone. Like, which was so crazy. It just made me laugh. Like, why doesn't Jesus fix the war instead of worrying about what's on my phone? Anyway. So,
Thanks, Joy.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
I want to weigh in on this discussion about preferences. And I think for me, the point I wanted to reiterate was saying you don't care about something when in fact you really do, and having that awareness of seeing yourself, capitulate for the sake of peace, and yet you start a war within yourself when you are not truthful to what your own feelings are and you're not honoring those feelings. I've been working on that, and recognizing that saying you don't care and you have no preference when in truth you do doesn't make you have no preferences.
No.
The peace within yourself has to come first, and then the not caring actually will just naturally manifest, but you can't make it happen.
Amen. Just had a bad thought. I really don't care about that, and I have overcooked your food. And I don't know.
And I spit in it while I was passing it off to you.
Right. I'm not sure what made me do that, but I just felt compelled. Yeah, resentment. Boy, I've done lots of that in my life.
I have a comment about the hanging of the art. In a more comedic way, I had quite a bit of the interior of the house painted last week, and the art came down, and I wasn't here when the painters left and finished up, so they just put the art anywhere, and so it's sort of helter-skelter, and I came home, and my immediate impression was, whoa, here's a thing. And of course the paint looks gorgeous and wonderful, and I haven't gotten around to change it, but every time I look around it was like, well, there's another option. So I've kind of been able to just sit with that. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't. Zach, Jim's laughing. No, I felt like I came to somebody else's house, and I've just let it be okay because it kind of is okay. So it was a lesson in letting go of in my world, a minor preference.
You know, there was something that Kimberly Ransom, who passed away a week ago last Wednesday, shared with a small group I was in with her. This was, I don't know, 6 months before she died, as she was beginning to realize that she really was dying. And she said to the group something like, there's so many things that I used to worry about and that I used to think were really important. And with no effort, suddenly, almost all of them are irrelevant. And and she said more than that, but it really struck me, that sharing that evening. It was outdoors at one of the homes of the members of the group, and she was awakening to the fact that she wasn't going to be here long, and and she also said, and I really don't want to waste my time doing anything I just don't really care about. She was a photographer, professional photographer and musician and artist, and she had taken pictures her whole life, and she created a project that she almost got finished, and a couple of family members and a friend are finishing it. She went through all her photographs and printed photographs, and she incredibly artfully created boards of photographs. They were maybe 30 photographs on a board. These are pictures of me with you, of her with a niece, and she created 170 of them that they're going to be put online, but they're also, the individuals are all going to receive them. She had this project. It was her real bucket list, was to honor her connection with all these people. And in order to complete that, she had to let go of all kinds of other things. But what she said was they just became, it wasn't an effort of will, they just became irrelevant. And that has affected me. And so often I'm worrying about things or struggling with something, and it really doesn't matter. Now, there are other things that it really makes sense to put the shoulder into and make them happen, and grieve it if it doesn't happen.
There's an old saying that goes, people who worry about the little things don't have big things to worry about. And maybe those little thing worries are kind of a blessing in disguise. Like, oh, I'm glad I'm not in the middle of a war or battling cancer or whatever.
Right. Yep.
Perspective.
Yeah. Well, my friends, 8:15. I need to go relatively soon. Can't get back to... Oh, I'm in page 1. There we are. Anybody sitting with something you'd like to share?
One thing from me, Robert, it's Joe.
Hi, Joe.
And I really love that. I don't know if it's part of the practice. It may just be part of maturing and getting a little wisdom. But I find joy now in the memories and the opportunities where my preference wasn't met, and the realization that, it looks better. That picture looks better there than what I was thinking. Or my idea was not as good as yours. And I'm glad that I learned that. And I take joy in understanding that now. I may not have seen it at the time, but the ability to accept and see the value in the other perspective and recognize that, I think is really helpful to me.
Thank you, Joe.
And so it's not something I have had always. It's sort of a learned thing that is getting easier. So anyway,
Hooray.
have a great day. Hooray.
Thanks. Well, shall we sing our way home? Please unmute if you wish to be part of the joyful cacophony. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. May all beings receive all blessings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a wonderful, mindful, loving day, dear friends.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube. It looks like it worked. Yay.